Rain tapped against the diner window as Emily Dawson wiped down the counter for the third time that night. At 24, she had already learned the rhythm of the graveyard shift, the long hours, the short tips, the quiet ache that settled into her bones when hope went unpaid. She wore the same faded pink apron she'd worn for months at the small-town Pennsylvania diner. The bill stacked higher than her dreams these days. Whatever she'd once imagined for herself lay buried somewhere beneath exhaustion and responsibility. It was another slow Tuesday. One trucker sat at the counter, coffee cooling between his hands, when the door chimed. Two men in dark suits entered first. Then she saw him. Emily blinked. Certain fatigue was playing tricks on her. But there he was, sliding into a corner booth like any other customer. Former President Donald Trump. No cameras. No press. Just the quiet presence of Secret Service agents scanning the room. Her hands stilled. She swallowed, grabbed her notepad, and walked over. "Good evening," she said evenly. "Can I get you something to eat?" He looked up and smiled. "What do you recommend?" "Meatloaf's decent," she replied with a shrug. He chuckled. "Sounds perfect." As she turned toward the kitchen, her hands began to shake, not from all, but from something heavier. For weeks she'd been carrying a question inside her, a plea, a last fragile thread of hope. And tonight, of all nights, it was sitting in her section. Emily grabbed a napkin and a pan. Her thoughts tangled as she wrote, the words coming out raw and unpolished. "Dear Mr. Trump, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I have to try. My mom died last year. My brother is autistic. I'm working 2 jobs to keep us afloat. I'm not asking for money, just hope. If you still believe in America's forgotten people, please don't forget me. Emily Dawson." She folded the napkin and slid it beneath his water glass when she returned with a meatloaf. "Here you go," she said. "Anything else?" "No, thank you," he replied. "Looks perfect." She nodded and walked away, pretending to clean a booth she'd already wiped twice. She didn't dare look back. 30 minutes passed like hours. When he left, he thanked her kindly and tucked 4 crisp $100 bills beneath the receipt. But when Emily cleared the table, her breath caught. The napkin was gone. She sat down hard in the booth, staring at the empty space beneath the glass. She didn't know if he'd read it, didn't know if it meant anything at all. But something inside her whispered that he had, and for the first time in weeks, she felt seen. The days passed. Long shifts. Cold coffee. A silence that slowly convinced her she'd imagined the significance of it all. By Saturday, she'd nearly forgotten. Then the mail came. Bills, of course, but between them, a cream-colored envelope. Heavy, embossed, no return address. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a letter on presidential stationery. "Dear Emily, I read your note, not once, but 3 times. I want you to know you are not forgotten. Your courage in writing to me says more than 1,000 speeches. You are exactly who this country was built for. I'd like to meet you. If you're willing, my team will reach out. Hold your head high. Better days are coming. Donald J. Trump." Emily covered her mouth, stunned. Someone powerful had heard her quietest cry. 2 days later, her flip phone buzzed. "Miss Dawson, this is Carol from President Trump's office. He'd like to invite you to New York next week. All expenses paid." Emily sank into a chair. This is real." "Yes, That night, she tucked the letter into a showbox beside her mother's photos and her brother Josh Cran drawings. For the first time in years, she let herself dream. New York felt unreal. The marble floors, the private jet, the gold-trimmed elevator rising toward the sky. She wore a simple blue dress her mother had once saved for church. At Trump Tower, he greeted her warmly. "Emily," he said, "I'm glad you came." For an hour, she told him everything. Her mother's illness, Josh's silence, the fear of the lights going out. He listened. Then he slid a folder across the desk. Inside was a full scholarship, college tuition, and support for Josh, therapy, schooling, help she'd never dared imagine. "Why?" she whispered. "Because investing in people like you matters." She nodded through tears. "Yes, I'll take it." Back home, the town buzzed with whispers and wonder. Emily returned to the diner, not ashamed, but proud. That evening, Josh met her at the door holding a drawing. Emily, smiling, wearing a crown. It was the first thing he'd drawn in months. Her knees buckled as hope finally broke through. Weeks later, when she was asked to share a story publicly, she hesitated, then remembered the napkin, the silence, the rain against the diner window. Hope, she realized, doesn't always shout. Sometimes it's written on a napkin, passed quietly across a table, and answered by someone who chose to listen. And sometimes that's enough to change a life. Josh sat beside her each night as she practiced, watching with wide, careful eyes. He didn't interrupt. He didn't fidget. He simply listened. One evening, as Emily stumbled over a sentence and let out a frustrated breath, Josh reached across the table and placed his hand gently over Hayes. "You can do it," he whispered. Emily froze. 2 words. Clear. Intentional. You talked," she whispered, tears rising instantly. Josh smiled, shy and proud. "You're brave." Her knees trembled. In that moment, it felt like witnessing a miracle. That single sentence gave her more strength than 1,000 rehearsals ever could. By the time the event arrived, Emily wasn't just ready. She was determined. She didn't want fame. She wanted to be useful. The auditorium was packed. Veterans, students, single mothers, workers with tired hands and hopeful eyes. Trump delivered his usual bold, unscripted remarks, then paused, smiling as he scanned the crowd. "But today," he said, "I want you to meet someone stronger than me." He gestured toward the wings. "Emily Dawson, come on up." The lights were blinding. The microphone felt unforgiving. Her knees shook as she stepped onto the stage. But then she looked out and saw faces, real people, just like her. She took a breath. "I was a girl with bills I couldn't pay," she began. "A brother who couldn't speak, and no idea how to ask for help." The room leaned in. "I didn't write a letter to be noticed. I wrote because I was desperate, because I felt invisible." Her voice steadied. "And someone read it, not because I was important, but because I was honest." She ended softly. "You don't need a title to change someone's life. Sometimes all it takes is a napkin." The room fell silent. Then applause erupted. People stood. Some cried. Trump returned to the stage and leaned close, whispering, "You just changed more lives than I ever could." After that night, offers poured in, talk shows, charities, universities eager to sponsor her story. Emily declined most of them. Instead, she enrolled in a nearby state college, choosing speech pathology. She wanted to help kids like Josh. Between classes, she still worked at the diner twice a week. Her photo now hung on the wall of hope above the coffee machine. But nothing about her changed. She still poured coffee with a smile, still left extra napkins on tables, just in case someone needed a place to write their truth. On her first day of school, a message came through. "Proud of you, Emily. Keep leading with your heart. DJT." She printed it and tucked it into her notebook. As college life settled in, another miracle unfolded. Josh began speaking more, first colors, then full sentences. He attended a specialized learning center funded through the nonprofit Trump had connected them with. One evening, while working on a puzzle, Josh looked up and said, "Mom would be proud of you." Emily's heart shattered and healed all at once. She pulled him into a hug. "I'm proud of you, buddy." Each word he spoke was a victory. Each smile a reminder of why she kept going. Emily once believed her world ended when her mother died. Now she understood. Love doesn't end. It transforms. And they were healing together. Inspired by her journey, Emily launched something simple but powerful, the Napkin Project. She encouraged people to write their silent hopes, fears, and confessions on napkins and share them. Soon, napkin notes appeared from everywhere. A veteran asking for peace, a teenager struggling with identity, a mother working 3 jobs. Each napkin was a voice. Emily collected them and displayed them in community centers and schools. She didn't ask for donations, only honesty. The movement spread quickly, and from one waitress's note, a national wave of empathy was born. Months later, the diner door jingled. Emily looked up and froze. "Mr. Trump." He smiled, not like a politician, but like an old friend. Had to see where the magic napkin was written. The diner went quiet. "You came all the way back here," she laughed. "I was nearby," he said casually, "and hungry." "Coffee and pancakes," he ordered with a grin. They sat at the corner booth. No cameras, no press. Just two people who had unknowingly changed each other's lives. "This place is full of stories," he said, looking around. "Most people just never get heard," Emily replied. "That's why your napkin matters more than any speech I'll ever give," he said. With the Napkin project growing, Emily was invited to speak at a museum in Washington, D.C. Instead, she proposed something different, a traveling exhibit called Voices on Paper. More than 5,000 handwritten napkins filled the space. Anonymous, honest, human. At the center was Emily's original note. Beside it, a plaque read, "Sometimes a cry for help isn't loud. It's written in ink, left behind, and quietly answered." The exhibit traveled to 15 cities that year. In Phoenix, Emily received a letter from a 12-year-old girl named Sarah. "My mom cries every day since my dad passed. I wrote my napkin and left it on the table." She smiled for the first time. "Thank you for showing me how." Emily read it again and again. Trump called the next day. "America's greatest strength is its people. You prove that." "They just needed a reason to be heard," Emily replied. One quiet morning, Emily and Josh visited their mother's grave. Emily placed a flower and a folded napkin beside the headstone. Josh read aloud, "You told us to love even when it hurts. We're still listening. We miss you." They stood in silence. "She'd be proud of us," Emily said. A year after the original note, Emily returned to the diner booth where it all began. A clean napkin sat before her. This time, she wrote gratitude instead of fear. "Thank you for seeing me. I see others now, too." She left it there. As she walked out, a teenage girl slid into the booth, picked it up, and smiled. A new story had begun. Years later, Emily ran a speech therapy clinic for nonverbal children. Josh worked beside her. The Napkin Project became a national nonprofit. She was no longer just a waitress, but she never forgot the beginning. A napkin, a note, a moment of courage. Because one voice, no matter how small, can echo forever.